Two retired couples live on the same quiet street in suburban Brisbane. Both are 68, both worked 40 years, both finished up last autumn with almost exactly the same nest egg. From the footpath, you genuinely could not tell them apart. One couple just pulled into the driveway in a leased dual cab ute, and behind it sits a big caravan they've towed out twice all year. There's a country club statement on the kitchen bench, and yesterday $1,200 went out to their daughter like it does every single month. The other couple drives a 12-year-old Corolla with $140,000 on the clock. No boat. The shop's an Aldi run. The watch on his wrist is a Seiko he bought back in '97. 20 years from now, one of those couples runs out of money in their early 80s. The other leaves the grandkids a small fortune. And here's the kicker from the outside. Right now, you honestly cannot tell which is which, but the maths can. If you've ever looked at someone who seems well off and quietly wondered how they actually pulled it off, or worse, looked at your own super balance and wondered if it's going to last, this one's going to make a fair bit click into place. And if buying a house or just keeping up feels flat out impossible right now, look, it's not you. The cost of living genuinely ran off without us, and I can show you exactly where the money quietly leaks out. So let's do the real maths, not the glossy fantasy. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a bloke who got sick of feeling behind and finally sat down and worked it out. This is general information, not advice for your situation. So for that, have a chat with someone licensed who actually knows your numbers. Every figure here comes from real sources. ABS, the big property mobs, the Millionaire Research, and I've popped them in the description. Stick around because the thing on this list that does the most damage isn't the flash one. It's the quiet little habit hiding right in plain sight. G'day, I'm Davo. Here's the thing nobody tells you. The wealthy folks who stay wealthy don't have a secret. They've just got a list of things they quietly refuse to buy. And the difference between our two couples on that street isn't income, it isn't luck, and it definitely isn't discipline in the gym junkie sense. It's a handful of recurring costs. One couple kept lighting on fire, and the other one didn't. So here are the 10 things wealthy Aussies quietly stop buying to stay wealthy. We'll count them down. And number 1 is the most expensive habit hiding in plain sight. Number 10, the status subscriptions and the upgrade you didn't need. We'll start small because this one snuck up on everybody at once. The flashy phone every 2 years, the streaming services you forgot you had, the gym you joined in January and walked into twice. A 2024 review by the Consumer Mob Finder found a big chunk of Aussies are paying for subscriptions they've forgotten about, quietly bleeding a few $100s a year each. Let me flag that figure as the ballpark it is. Not a precise quote, because these surveys move. Picture a fella I'll call Maka. Maka's paying for 2 music apps, 3 streamers, a meditation app he opened once, and a phone plan with data he's never touched. None of it feels like much on its own. That's the trick none of it ever does. Knock $200 a month of that quiet creep off, invest it instead, and purely as an illustration, at 7% over 20 years, that's the thick end of $100,000. One boring afternoon with your bank statement, $100,000. The wealthy didn't get tight. They just did the audit once and stopped paying for things they don't use. Number 9. A house bigger than they actually need. Now we step it up. The dream is the big place with the spare rooms for when the grandkids visit. The reality? You visit those rooms to dust them. Here's the bit that stings in this country. The cost isn't just the bigger mortgage. It's the stamp duty going in, which on a dearer place runs into the tens of thousands, and you can check the current rate for your state. It's published. Then it's higher council rates forever. More insurance, more to heat and cool, more to maintain. A bloke I'll call Phil and his wife Robin upsized at 60 into a 4-bedder for the grandkids who turn up, 3 weekends a year? The other rooms just sit there costing money. The Millionaire Research bloke Thomas Stanley, who wrote The Millionaire Next Door after studying thousands of actual wealthy households, found the same pattern over and over. The genuinely wealthy buy less house than they can afford, not more. They knew the house you don't need is a cost that never stops, dressed up as an asset, same view out a smaller window, and tens of thousands you get to keep. Number 8, high fee managed funds when low cost options exist. This one's invisible, which is exactly why it's so dangerous. Some funds quietly charge 2% a year. Doesn't sound like much, does it? Here's the real maths, and it's brutal. On a balance of 100 grand growing along nicely, an extra 1% in fees every year, purely illustrative, at 7% growth costs you tens of thousands over a couple of decades because that fee compounds against you the whole time. Now look, low-cost index funds exist as a category that's just a factual statement about what's out there, not me telling you to buy anything, because I genuinely can't and I wouldn't. The wealthy don't chase the fund with the cleverest brochure. They ask one boring question first. What's this costing me every year, and is there a cheaper way to own the same thing? Watching the fees is one of the only moves where doing nothing flashy quietly beats doing something clever. Number 9 and 8 were the silent ones. Now they get louder. Number 7, timeshares and holiday club memberships. If you thought the last two were sneaky, wait till you see what these are worth secondhand. The pitch is gorgeous, a slice of a resort. Yours forever, holidays sorted for life. Here's what actually happens. You pay tens of thousands up front, and then the annual fees turn up every single year forever, rising, even after you've stopped using it. Go and look at the resale market sometime. People practically giving these things away just to escape the fees. A couple I'll call the hendos bought one full of champagne at a slick presentation, worked out to a few $100s a night for a room they could only use in one spot at one time of year. The hotel down the road was cheaper, with breakfast thrown in and nobody cornering them at a sales seminar. The wealthy run that masks before they sign, not after. And here's the part the brochure leaves out: your kids can inherit those fees. That's not a holiday. That's a bill with a beach photo on it. Number 6, lotto tickets and scratchies. Every single week. I want to be gentle here because this one's wrapped up in hope, and I get it. A few bucks on a Saturday feels like buying a little dream. But the maths of a lottery is simple, and it never changes. It's designed, by definition, to pay out less than it takes in. That's not a conspiracy. That's just how the thing is built. Picture Auntie Glad, 20 bucks a week on tickets and scratchies every week for 30 years. That's a bit over 30 grand spent. And if instead that same 20 a week had gone somewhere, it could quietly grow illustratively. At 7%, you're looking at the wrong side of 50 grand. She'd have to her name. The wealthy aren't buying a 1 in millions dream every Saturday. They quietly back the boring near certainty of compounding instead. Same 20 bucks. Wildly different ending. Number 5, the luxury watch or handbag as an investment. This one's almost funny. Somewhere along the line, people convince themselves that a 15 grand watch or a designer handbag is an investment for a tiny handful of rare pieces. Occasionally, sure, for nearly everyone buying one. It's a depreciating want with a story attached. Here's the genuinely surprising bit, and it's from Stanley's research again when he surveyed actual millionaires. The typical one had never paid much at all for their most expensive watch. The flashiest watches in the room are usually on the wrists of people trying to look wealthy, not the ones who are. I had a mate at footy, I'll call him Spinner, drop serious money on a watch to look the part at work. Here's the quiet truth: he worked out years too late. The people he was dressing for, the boss, the clients, the networking room. Once you retire, that whole audience just vanishes. The only person clocking your watch now is the kid at the chemist counter, and mate, she could not care less. That's not an investment, that's a costume. Number 4, extended warranties on everything. The little one at the checkout that adds up to a fortune. You buy the telly, the fridge, the laptop, and right at the till, someone offers you peace of mind for an extra chunk of cash. Here's what the consumer advocates have been saying for years. For most products, an extended warranty is poor value because under Australian consumer law, you've already got guarantees on goods that have to be of acceptable quality and last a reasonable time, free, built in. You can read that on the ACCC's own site. So a lot of the time, you're paying again for cover you partly already have. Maka's neighbor bought the warranty on every appliance in the house for a decade, call it a couple of $100 a pop, and almost none of them ever got claimed. The wealthy know their consumer rights, so they rarely buy the add-on. Self-insure the small stuff, keep a buffer, and let the law do the job you were about to pay twice for. We're into the big end now. The top 3 are where the real money goes up in smoke. Number 3. Brand name groceries. Just out of habit. Stay with me, because this one's smaller per shop, but it runs for life. The wealthy are weirdly relaxed about the home brand. The fact is, a huge slice of supermarket products are near identical to the brand name version. Sitting beside them, same stuff, different label, often the same factory. Aldi versus the big 2, home brand versus the name on the ad. A family quietly swapping a fair chunk of their trolley to home brand can save real money every week, and over a 40-year adult life, a few thousand a year, invested illustratively at 7%, becomes a genuinely silly number well into the hundreds of thousands. Now here's my honest caveat, because I'd be lying otherwise. Some brand items genuinely are better, and you should buy the ones you love. This isn't about misery. It's about not paying a premium out of pure habit on the stuff where you'd never taste the difference. Number 2, the boat or the caravan that mostly sits still. You know, the old line, the 2 best days of owning a boat are the day you buy it and the day you sell it. It's a cliche because every bloke who's owned one nods grimly when he hears it. Caravans and boats lose a big slab of their value in the first few years, and that's before you've paid a cent to use them. Picture Baza and Coralie. They dropped a serious chunk on a caravan at 65 for the big lap of Australia. Over 10 years, they copped the rego, the insurance, the storage when it's not on the driveway, the servicing, the tires, and the depreciation hit on top. And they used it. A handful of weeks total. Run the all-in cost across the nights they actually slept in it, and it works out eye-watering per night. You could have stayed somewhere lovely and had someone bring you breakfast for that. The wealthy didn't make that trade. For the one big trip they actually wanted, they hired the van, used it, handed it back. That's the whole difference. They bought the holiday, not the depreciating shed on wheels. And number 1, the most expensive habit hiding in plain sight, a brand new car every 3 years. The average new car loses around 1/5 of its value in the first year, and the thick end of half of it within 5. That's the well-known depreciation pattern, and you can verify the current figures. They're published. On a 50 grand SUV, that's tens of thousands of dollars gone, whether you drive it lovingly or just admire it in the driveway. The wealthy know that number cold. Most people don't, which is exactly why most people keep trading in. Here's the part that really stings. Straight from Stanley's research, more millionaires drive a Toyota than a luxury European badge, and the typical person sinks a huge share of their net worth into a car, while the actual millionaires barely spend a fraction of theirs. Now picture Trev. Trev's a sales rep on his 4th novated lease in a row since the last bloke who had the desk. Every 3 years, he rolls the old one into a new one. The payment never really drops, and somewhere in there he's convinced himself he's getting a deal. He is not getting a deal. He is renting status month after month from a man in a polo shirt at the dealership. Swap that 3-year trade-in cycle for buying a good car and holding it 10 years, take the avoided depreciation plus what that money could have quietly earned instead, illustratively at 7%, and over a working life, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's not a car. That's a second retirement, parked in the driveway, slowly rusting, right? So that's the bad news, and it's a fair bit of it. Here's the part that's actually in your hands, because I don't want you switching this off feeling flat. You do not need to give up all 10 of these. You probably can't, and honestly you shouldn't try. Life's meant to be lived, and a holiday and a decent car aren't sins. The point isn't to spend nothing. The point is to stop bleeding in the categories that don't actually make your life one bit better. And if the maths in this video has felt impossible, look, if the maths feels impossible, it's probably not you. A lot of this is the system, not a personal failing, and naming that is half the battle. The through line across all 10 is the same. Not one of them buys you anything that lasts. They all rent you a feeling, status, comfort, hope, peace of mind rented by the month off someone whose whole job is selling it to you. The wealthy just work that out a bit sooner. Here's the one move that actually matters, and it costs you nothing. Pick the 3 off this list that are quietly costing you the most, and just pause one of them. Not all 10. One. Cancel the subscription creep, or hold the car a few extra years, or skip the warranty next time. Watch what that one freed up bit of money does when you point it somewhere useful instead. That's it. You don't have to get smarter overnight. You just have to get a little bit stubborn. And look, if you want the full playbook, all of this laid out with the maths drawn out properly so you can run your own numbers, I've put it in a little guide and it's linked down below. No pressure at all. It'll just be there whenever you want it. So here we are, back to our two couples on that quiet Brisbane street. Same income, same starting nest egg, same lifestyle on the surface. But one of them is going to die comfortable, and one of them is going to spend their last years quietly running the numbers, wondering how the maths got away from them when they were so sure it never would. The only real difference was a list of things one of them refused to buy. 10 years from now, the money you stop lighting on fire is either quietly working away for you in the background, or it's a caravan you used twice, rusting under a tarp. I know which version I'd rather be living. One boring sentence, and it's the only one in here. I'm not a financial advisor, and this is general information, not financial advice for your situation. These are just patterns with real numbers attached, so take what's useful and leave the rest. And for your own situation, see someone licensed who knows your numbers. Now do me a favor, drop a comment, tell me which one of these 10 you reckon you could actually pause this month. I genuinely read them. And next time, I'll show you exactly where to point that freed up money so it does the most work. Until then, look after your money and it'll look after you. I'm Davo. Catch you next one.